Well, brilliant sunshine out here at the Sydney Football Stadium. That'll give you an idea of what it's like, even though it's all shadowed in on one side. That's just the way this ground is. And Fordo, I think yesterday you were sitting in the grandstand here and got thoroughly wet, even though you're undercover.
We're undercover and sitting right in front of the commentary box we're in at the moment, Bill, which you would think would be protected from the weather, but everything is possible, or anything is possible here at the football stadium. It's the atmosphere is fantastic. Yesterday was a ground record, and I think it may be eclipsed here today. And a prize at the end of this 80 minutes of a spot for the winner in the grand final.
Yes, straight through in 2 weeks' time, September 11. And while we're talking about that, you'll be able to see it live here on TVO. Matter of fact, we get underway around about 10 o'clock in the morning. You'll see grand finals of all 3 games. Let's get down to this one, though. There's the kickoff, and immediately the ball being swung back, and coming up straight up there is Craig Diamond to be put down about 24 metres out from the Cronulla line. Referee today is Graham Annesley. And he looks like at this stage, David, right, that he could have the run through to the grand final.
Yes, well, he's had the second Sunday match, so he could feel fairly confident. Mick Stone had the game yesterday, did a reasonable job, I guess, and McCallum had reserve grade once again today.
So it's Cronulla taking it up. That's Dan Staines just onto the halfway mark. They keep it going, Cronulla. Gee, there's plenty of support for this Cronulla team here today. That was a big tackle by Farah.
Great chain passing, close to the ruck, and that's the way Cronulla like to play it. And Miller gets a beautiful kick away.
Yes, as we said, it hasn't found touch, though. The touch flag is up, though. The touch judge comes in. It didn't look as though it went into touch to me. What do you think?
Very close. Just really crept along that touch line. Let's have a look at it again as Miller shoots for the touch line. Didn't actually go over the touch line, but may have just hit on the line. Of course, on the line is out. And the touch judge raises the flag 12 metres out.
Terry Kennedy, you're down there on the touch line. What do you think?
It did actually roll along the line there, Billy, so I guess the touch judge had no hesitation in putting the red flag up.
Canterbury defeat. Wally Lewis down on the touchline also. Wally, what do you think of this match this afternoon? Canterbury win against...
Well, it's certainly shaping as a very exciting match. Of course, this Cronulla side certainly have the crowd wondering about them. They're a side that don't seem to have any real big names in their team, but just keep getting bigger and better every week. And I'm sure that if they continue on in the matches they've started at the moment, they're going to really put Canterbury to the test.
Big chance there for Cronulla to put on some very early pressure, but lost there by Magore.
Once again, short passing troubling Canterbury Bankstown's defensive pattern.
Scrum to pack down. It'll be taken out this time by Lamb. Lamb feeding it away to Hagan. Hagan going to be bottled up, though. Magore over there on the tackle. It's a ball and all one.
Speechley and Lamb went on for a short amount of time after the tackle.
Running away from dummy half, that's Nissen. Getting up almost onto their own quarter line now at Canterbury Bankstown. But, gee, there's a lot of support for Cronulla here today, David.
Certainly seemed to be when they came out. They'd be a very popular side, Cronulla, because they have been really out of contention for quite some time. Looks like Cronulla, Terry, have got a injured player.
Yes, there is a player just down there up back on the quarter line of Canterbury, and he's receiving treatment at the moment, it looks like, the front rower.
So we'll see Cronulla with it now. This is Jonathan Docking running across field, going to be wrapped up 10 metres. Oh, driven back eventually a couple of metres. 3 Canterbury forwards coming in there to drive him back. Gillespie, Dunn, and also up into the tackle was Brandon Lee. Meanwhile, here's Cronulla with it. Stepping back inside is Quinn. He's got some big shoes to fill this fella today.
Yeah, an important role he's got to play. I think really his job is going to be to continually move the ball. I'm a bit surprised there he even ran with it there. I think he's really got to act as a link man. And, of course, Barry Russell, who was the Rothmans medal winner, not out there for Cronulla today. He's had a shoulder injury.
Well, he did say, Quinn, during the week that he's not an attacking player. He's more a defensive player than anything, but he will try and keep that ball moving to the men outside.
Well, that'll be his job, Bill, and just to really act as a link man.
This is Alchin with it. Alchin about 24 metres out from the Canterbury line, put to the ground up there. Away from dummy half this time is Robin Thorne. Doesn't get far, though. Plenty of defence. Led off there by Craig Diamond. Been a bit of doubt about Diamond during the week, but he's come up, and that's been, of course, the story, as we said at the start of the show today. A couple of weeks off has really helped Cronulla with a few of those just line ball injuries.
Exactly. Dan Staines was much the same. I spoke to Dan just before the match. Little knock on that one. Bad mistake that from Joe Thomas. It'll put enormous pressure on Canterbury Bankstown now. But Dan Staines was in much the same boat as his co-front row in Craig Diamond that had to play last week. There could have been some doubt. Staines has been troubled by an ankle injury.
So we wait for Quinn to feed the scrum. Down they go. Taken out by Quinn, gets it away very quickly. Speechley sending it on to Docking into the back line. Beautifully been knocked over 30 metres out from the Canterbury line. It's been all Cronulla. They've had most of the possession, so why not? They're putting on the pressure again. Magore taken by Thorne, put down right on the quarter line. Away from dummy half, working across field there is David Hatch. Hatch put down.
I've never seen a side put this much pressure on Canterbury Bankstown's defence so early in the match.
Magore getting it outside, a penalty.
that sort of pressure brings about that, where sides have to really stand up to try and contain them. And an absolute gift points here. Gift points for Cronulla. Alan Wilson to have a shot for goal.
Alan Wilson, 7 tries, 66 goals, and a total of 167 points. He's the 4th top point scorer in the Winfield Cup for 1988. So he's got a sitter here, a nice way to start the day, Dave.
Yes, it certainly is, and they've been on top all along. There's the reserves bench for Canterbury, Bankstown, and Steve Folkes, who's played the whole season with Canterbury, has found himself in the biggest match of the year thus far, the major semi-final. Of course, the winner of today's game going straight through into the grand final in 2 weeks' time. The loser will have the unenviable task.
You're right there.
Coming up against a powered-up Tigers outfit.
They're pretty confident too, just talking to Keith Barnes before the match today. Very happy with the way things are going, that's for sure.
Big test for them yesterday. Now they will look forward to next week's game.
There she goes through the centre, so that's the first point on the board. Cronulla leading by 2 points to 0 with the pressure they've been putting on Wally Lewis. Maybe it could have been even a little bit more than that by this stage.
Well, it could have been. Unfortunately for Cronulla, we saw them drop the ball only a couple of minutes ago when they seemed to have the Canterbury backline stretched to just about breaking point, and unfortunately I think it was Mark McGaw that dropped the ball. It possibly could have been another 6 points.
So it's a lead now for Cronulla of 2 points to 0. Fordo, you were here for the match yesterday. Now that we've got a big crowd here, really the atmosphere comes alive at the Sydney Football Stadium.
Well, it's fabulous to see eventually, Bill, because it's a much maligned ground, but when it is full, and it will be on grand final day, let me assure you, that today I'd say it's probably in the vicinity of just over 30,000. The atmosphere is tremendous.
So now we see Cronulla in possession. They lead by 2 points to 0. Getting up to play at this time is Porter. Swinging it out wide. Taking it up there is Staines. Staines wrapped up. Still about 30 metres out from their own line, Cronulla. And Canterbury must be wondering what that ball is like. They haven't seen much of it.
I tackle that one on McGaw and went undetected by Ennersley. Be interesting to see where the touch judge comes in on the next passage of play. That was Gillespie with a massive shoulder charge on Speechley. We've got a penalty in the play the ball, though, for an incident. Let's have a look at this. Gillespie from the blind side of Speechley. Speechley never even saw him coming, and he crashed into the ground. Speechley very groggy even at this stage. There's big Paul Dunn. I think he was the player who was involved in the infringement, ultimately in the play the ball. Nothing to do with the Gillespie Speechley incident. And Speechley just getting a little bit of attention, but he's back in play. There he is now, Michael Speechley. What an important link he is in the Cronulla outfit. A renowned low tackler.
Porter takes a tap, sends it outside to Staines. Doesn't get far, though. Going to be quickly wrapped up and put to the ground. The tackler on that occasion was done. So it's Cronulla in possession. That's Diamond. Midway between the quarter and halfway down in Canterbury, Bankstown territory, and Cronulla's lead at this stage is 2 points to 0. Working it out wide, that's Speechley putting in the kick. He's looking for his winger. Can he get it? No, it's going to be taken over there for Cronulla. Coming down with it will be O'Brien. Crowd not too happy about that one.
Well, it looked okay to me. Cronulla, they're really trying every trick in the book. They've mixed things up nicely. That was still fairly early in the tackle count, and they were prepared to try that little chip kick. So they're putting enormous pressure on Canterbury, and one of the few chances for the Bulldogs now. And one of the easy ways now also to go on the attack, and that is through a penalty, an offside penalty. A kick to be taken from right in centre field. Farah, who's a very strong kicker of the ball, will look for touch on the far side of the ground.
Some very big kicks here last week in the match against Canberra.
Well, this guy is one of the bigger kickers in the game. He's found touch just near the halfway line. A chance for Canterbury now to show a bit of their wares in attack.
So Thomas on the mark, takes the tap, sends it outside then to Hagan. Hagan turning it back inside, coming through there is Lee.
Interested spectator there, of course, Warren Ryan, the coach of Balmain. He'll play the loser of today's game next Sunday.
Quite a few of the Balmain team out here today, taking in this match, and obviously just take it easy after a big performance again yesterday. There's no doubt about them. They're on the biggest roll we've seen for quite some time.
Been a great effort by them. They're playing well. That's 6 to go.
That's Thorne taking it, wrapped up in the tackle though. Very quickly coming around is Harris.
He hasn't called that 6 to go. He just called it a rebound, which is fair enough.
Farah from dummy half sends it across over there this time. Coming up there, Langmack. Langmack with a pass outside. They keep it going. This is Thomas. Thomas getting it away to Lamb. They keep it moving nicely, but it's knocked down. It's going to be a Cronulla. It's retained there by Lamb. Lamb on his way. 15, 20 metres inside Cronulla territory. Eventually going to be put to the ground.
6 to go. Touched by Cronulla. They could have had an intercept quite easily there.
So back it goes, Hagan sending it out wide. This is done, striding up to towards the quarter line. Going to be put to the ground though. Cronulla's lead is 2 points to 0, but now it's Canterbury's turn. This is Lee, had a big match last week, just inside the quarter. He's put to the ground. He'll get up to play it. Thomas from dummy half works that blind side. Hagan getting it away to Lamb. The kick through. Back there, right on top of it is Quinn. He'll pick it. Oh, he's lost it in the end goal area. That'll be a try. That'll be a try to Canterbury Bankstown.
Bad mistake it was from Quinn in the end goal area. Canterbury chasing that kick nicely. Once again, we see kicks playing such an important part in the game. Out to Terry Lamb. His support's recovered out wide. Actual fact, it was, I think, Nissen who was knocked down, and Quinn got back there. Looked like it was an easy pick-up, but he tried to do exactly that and pick it up. Oh, only just got a hand to it, did O'Brien. And he's come up with the try. Here it is again.
So it was certainly very good play from Terry Lamb. He had to twist his body around a fair bit to get the kick in there. And of course, the rolling ball is always going to present a problem. It did seem as though Quinn did have a little bit of a look at the defence coming through, and a great way for Canterbury to get back. It seemed as though Cronulla was certainly on top for a long, long time.
Well, it happens so often, Dave, where you see the side do all the attacking and then all of a sudden a mistake inside their own quarter and the opposition come up with the vital 4 points. And Steve O'Brien, in a welcome return to first-grade football, he's played in a couple of grand finals, including one premiership win, has scored a vital try for Canterbury Bankstown.
Yeah, well, Quinn was in position to cover that ball, but elected to try and pick it up and run it out of the own in-goal area. And in doing so, he, of course, lost control of it. Had he just dived on it, it would have been a goal line dropout. But now his side are 4 points. Well, they've had 4 points scored against them. They trail at the moment by 4-2 with the kick to come.
Terry Lamb lining up for 11 points last week, including that field goal, of course. 155 points for the season for him so far. Pretty dependable player, not only in the kicking department, all round. He's on his way to attempt to convert the try. Let's have a look. The flags are waving away, so at this stage it remains Canterbury Bankstown leading by 4 points to 2.
So this very big crowd at the Sydney Football Stadium sees the two sides just separated by 2 points. It's Canterbury in the lead by 4 points to 2. The restart of play by Cronulla Sutherland through their second row forward, Alan Wilson, one of the real versatile players in this Cronulla side, taken by Farah. Henny immediately feeds his centre partner Glenn Nissen. A big test for Nissen today. Andrew Farah is telling me before the game that he has played a couple of games this season as a centre. We saw him early in the season in the fullback role, but he's occupied the wing position for the Canterbury Bankstown side for the majority of the season. It's the Bulldogs in their own half and immediately getting out of that territory through the big kick downfield by Andrew Farah. That's Harris linking up with Jonathan Docking. Good defence by Robin Thorne. Docking quickly plays the ball to Harris. Taken by Dunn. Wrestled to the ground. Over the top came the captain, Peter Tunks. Now it's back for Diamond. Play still in Cronulla Sutherland's end of the ground for Speechley. That Canterbury defence is very committed. Quinn away for Hatch. Hatch through the dummy, took the tackle on the halfway line. Final tackle now for the Sharks. Gavin Miller is the man at dummy half, runs away through the dummy and then kick behind the defence, but good positional play by Robin Thorne. David, this fellow's come on in leaps and bounds in the 88 season. Yeah,
he'd have to be one of the success stories, and I think Canterbury Bankstown signed him in hope more than anything, but he's been, well, proved a real success story, and really has been as safe as a bank for them, and also has finished strongly whenever required.
Joey Thomas was the man that played the ball, and a penalty. Cronulla Sutherland caught well up inside the 5 metres. We saw this yesterday, Wally, where Mick Stone was very severe on both sides, trying to keep the these semi-finals an open affair.
Yes, it certainly seems as though the referees have had a little whisper in their ears to tell them to keep the game as open as possible. And I suppose it's, although it doesn't go down too well with the supporters all the time, it does manage to keep the game very open. And with 2 great attacking sides as we've got here today, it could be a good thing for the game.
Gee, there's some good defence going in. And that time it was Dan Staines, a big hit, front-on tackle. Now Langmack. He's been one of the inspirations in this Canterbury Bankstown side this season. That's Gillespie showing the great strength he's got, but this time he's wrapped up by some very committed Cronulla Sutherland defence. Centre field between the half and the 22 at Cronulla's end of the ground, and Canterbury moving it wide. It goes out to big Andrew Farah, but he's cut down in a copybook tackle. Typical of Michael Speechley, that tackle. Hagan, 5 metres short of the 22. Back it goes. Terry Lamb, the attempted drop goal is a shocker. Picked up nicely by Docking with room to move. He's got open space. He takes it up to the 22, and finally his progress is impeded by Terry Lamb. Now Hatch, away to Diamond, then for Porter, puts the head down and burrows out wide, but he's claimed in the tackle by Glenn Nissen. 4-2, it's the Bulldogs in the lead. All the early attack was done by Cronulla Sutherland, but the try, the only one so far, came through Steve O'Brien. Sharks crawl their way over the halfway line. Porter is a dummy half. Goes out to Miller. Miller to Speechley. Back to Miller, but Miller's well and truly claimed. He got to his feet again and wrestled to the ground by Peter Tunks and Andrew Farrer.
Terry Lamb it was who tried to make the tackle on Miller, and he's still on his knees.
There's the kick downfield by Speechley. Again, good positional play by Robin Thorne, anticipating the kick over the top. Run down by Eddinghausen. Terry Lamb still receiving attention. Terry, any chance to... You saw what happened there with Terry Lamb?
Yes, he did cop a bad, maybe an elbow after a tackle there when he tried to get a kick away, but he is down receiving attention to the mouth area.
Well, a cruel blow if Terry Lamb is forced to leave the field for Canterbury Bankstown, but he's a pretty tough customer, Dave. I don't think he'll be wandering off too quickly.
No, there he is, just being checked out. Looks like he's happy enough to continue, and as you say, a vital part of Canterbury's chances. There he is, still not really too keen to rush back into things, but he'll look across and gratefully realise his side has got a penalty, and it was for stealing the ball incident in the play the ball. There it is, just being tugged away, I think, by Porter.
So Andrew Farrer looking for touch on that eastern side of the Sydney Football Stadium. And the crowd on that far side still enjoying the sunshine. Shadows halfway across the ground. There goes Jason Alchin. He takes play just inside Cronulla Sutherland's end of the ground. One of the Cronulla players reeled away from that too. I think it might be Wilson that's copped a bit of a whack in the mouth, but another error there. We'll see the scrum go down. Centre field just inside Cronulla's end of the ground. I think it might be a jaw injury there to Alan Wilson.
Yeah, Wilson came over the top to make the previous tackle to this one and fell quite awkwardly on the player. So he's okay.
Scrum feed by Cronulla. Going blindside is Speechley off the pass from Quinn, and that's Eddinghausen. Got the pass away for Glenn Coleman, but the referee has ruled it forward. Well, he had a very good line to work on there, Wally Lewis. It was right on the halfway line where that pass was thrown.
Yeah, you certainly can't argue with either of the two decisions he's made. It was a bit of a surprise to see him promoted to a game of this importance, Annesley, but he's handled them all very well.
Scrum win, Canterbury Bankstown. Hagan got the pass away to Andrew Farrer. The big centre's wrapped up by Speechley. Hagan turning it back inside. Ball loose on the ground. It's a Cronulla ball.
Third time within the very short period of time we've seen mistakes from both sides early in the tackle count.
Oh, there's another dreadful pass, this time from Magore, and they've turned over possession in the first or second tackle. Glenn Nissen put the pressure on Mark Magore.
Well, both sides not really showing the control necessary in a match as important as this one. They both have made two lots of areas within about two tackles of getting the ball.
You notice that Lamb and Hagan have swapped that role from half and 5/8 on the Canterbury Bankstown scrum feeds, while Lamb is playing at 5/8 in the defensive role. There's Peter Tunks back for Thomas. They keep the ball alive. It goes out through Hagan. He threw the dummy, and he's taken about 9 metres inside Cronulla's end of the ground. Dummy half is Thomas. That was Langmack. He threw the dummy, got through Langmack, got the pass away to O'Brien, but he's run down in the tackle of Glenn Coleman, just outside the attacking quarter line, and Thomas skirts the blind side, driven towards the touchline, got the pass away, and he's turned over possession once again.
Inexcusable after Canterbury did some good work to make good ground there. They've just surrendered possession. I'd say instructions will be going out to both sides to make sure they use up the 6 tackles.
It's Cronulla in possession of the ball. They trail by 4 points to 2. The only try so far in the first half by Steve O'Brien. Coming off a little kick from Terry Lamb. He was involved in all the tries last week, Terry Lamb, and was instrumental with that kick in the first try here today.
He's a key player, especially with Steve Mortimer been out of the side now for about 4 weeks with that wrist injury. Lamb takes over the organisational role.
Miller with the kick behind the defence again. Running onto it is Jason Alchin. He allows the ball to bounce inside his own quarter line. Plenty of Sharks defenders up there to try and mow him down, and they do that. So it'll be Glenn Nissen that will go into dummy half. Cuts out O'Brien, gave it to Hagan in turn for Lamb. They're throwing it around inside their own quarter. Stepping run by big Andrew Farrer, but Staines comes over the top. Canterbury still trying to work it outside their own quarter. A 2-point lead, 4 points to 2. That's Brandon Lee, as Billy mentioned, had an outstanding game against Canberra last week in the Sunday semi-final. Paul Dunn. Final tackle now for the Bulldogs. Thomas. It goes back with Andrew Farrer. We'll see plenty of that today, but this time not a good kick. Billy straight down the throat of Jonathan Docking.
Yeah, straight to him, and he had no worries there, running it up and bringing it up to midway between the quarter and the halfway. Away from dummy half this time is Harris.
Well, Nissan had to be offside. He was involved in a great tackle on Docking, but then never got back the 5 metres after making that tackle. He got back about 2. And watch this, as he gets up, he only just fades back into the blind side. And there we are, just shooting for a penalty, really. Good work that from David Harris, always after the penalty, and that's exactly what he got.
I should imagine, David, that quite a few of these players out there will come into the running for some sort of awards in the Dally M's on this coming Tuesday night. Obviously, Gavin Miller's got to come in once again quite strongly.
He'd have to be, Bill, as one of the real top-line second rows. And, of course, he was rewarded with his first Australian jersey this year.
Well, I'll tell you one other thing that may come too, Billy. In 1975, David Hatch was named Captain of the Year, and I suppose you really couldn't... he's been one of the unsung heroes in this Cronulla charge in '88. It wouldn't be surprised to see if he gets his second award.
Yeah, well, he's a veteran, of course, from the Cronulla side. Was in their finals campaigns in 1978 and 1981. So he's given some great service. He went away for a couple of years, but came back. And the 200 club he joined this year, which is quite a performance. So those Dally M's on Tuesday night at 9:30, by the way, live here on TVO. So it's very slowly McGaw getting to his feet. Plays it. Back over there this time to Hatch. Hatch will be bowled over 30 metres out from the Canterbury line. Final tackle coming up. Up as dummy half this time is Porter. Swings it away. The little kick through by Miller. But it's going to be taken back there by Hagan. Hagan up over the quarter line. He's working out wide. Look back inside. There was no one at home. Terry Lamb to dummy half. He'll run it out himself. But here's another penalty coming Canterbury way.
Well, unusual for Cronulla. They're a side that normally give away very few penalties in a match, and in doing that keep pressure on the opposition, but must be about the 3rd or 4th offside penalty so far. Actually 4 offside penalties have gone against Cronulla.
So now it's Brandon Lee taking it up. Gets about a metre inside Cronulla territory before his progress is stopped very smartly. Leading off the tackle charge there was Michael Porter.
And he's not too healthy either as Brandon Lee.
Another injury in the background there also, so some hefty stuff coming out there on the field today. Well, you'd expect it. It's a major final of the Winfield, major semi-final of the Winfield Cup, and of course the winning team straight into the grand final on September 11.
Brandon Lee did pretty well there. There he goes groggily back into position. Did pretty well to play the ball back to his own dummy half. He really wouldn't have known which way to face. There he is. He's in a bit of trouble.
So another penalty coming up, this time for Canterbury Bankstown.
Well, Cronulla will have to get the message. Alshan making out that he was going to take a quick tap, and good captaincy this from David Hatch. He's gone over to have a talk to Annesley and just question exactly when his side can move up. Annesley being quite explicit in that, and in this time it's allowed Brandon Lee a little bit of time to recover. Surprisingly too here, well within the range of Terry Lamb, but they've elected to shoot for touch and keep the pressure on.
So we'll take the tap now for Canterbury Bankstown, some 18 metres out now from the Cronulla line. They lead at this stage by 4 points to 2.
Canterbury specialise in scoring tries from set moves.
Away from dummy half, out it goes to Dunn. Dunn pulled down 8 metres out from the Cronulla line. Watch for it now, away from dummy half over to Tunks. Tunks settling it up the centre. He'll play it from there. Dummy half is Langmack. Langmack swings it away this time. It's Hagan cutting about, sends it around the corner to Thomas, and Thomas will score. Canterbury Bankstown in for their second try of the match, and they have a lead of 8 points to 2.
Beautiful hands. Michael Hagan held it up for a moment, took on the defence, came out the other side, and then Thomas had to beat some cover defence to get there. But Canterbury just pressurising all the time. There's the dummy initially by Hagan. Let the defence go past him. Thomas brushes out of the tackle of Jonathan Docking, and Canterbury in for their second try.
It started everything there. The little dummy from Michael Hagan was past it, of course, put the defence into 2 minds. But Joe Thomas, of course, is a bloke that doesn't get too many raps in a game of football, but he's certainly come up trumps for Canterbury on a number of occasions, and they're using him as an attacking weapon as well out here this afternoon. So I'm sure that the Canterbury bosses will agree he certainly was a good buy for the club.
Well, they were talking earlier in the week of what would happen if players, well, the players that they named, they could have put Bugden and all sorts of things. They're even talking about maybe Folks going into a hooker. But I think staying with Thomas, he's performed particularly well this season, and he's done the job for them again today.
He certainly has, and it was Phil Gould who ultimately said that that he would ensure that he wanted to go in with a recognised hooker, and therefore he decided against Folks. There's Brandon Lee coming to the touchline now. Terry Kennedy, looks like the doctor's having a close look at him.
Yes, he certainly is. TK out of commission at the moment. But Brandon Lee, well, there with the doctor.
If he comes off, I'd say that, yeah, there's Steve Folks warming up. That means Folks will go into the second row and Paul Dunn will push up into the front row. It's a pretty handy replacement, Billy.
Oh my word, they've got some reserves there when you have a look through them. Here's Lamb attempting to convert the try. Kick is on its way, no doubt about it, it's through, and Canterbury Bankstown have a lead of 10 points to 2. Okay, so it looks like a replacement getting ready to come on. Well, he's on there actually, out and about, ready to roll is Steve Folks. So Brandon Lee off, Steve Folks on. So now we'll wait for the kick-off here. Ball being started into play there by Alan Wilson. Nissan falling over in the in-goal area. Just about he got up and started moving because there were plenty of Cronulla players coming at him.
He's made it by about 1.5 metres, but good work ultimately by Nissan. He couldn't have, there it is, he couldn't afford to let it go past him because it would have been a goal line dropout, so he had to have a go at it, took it well, and then had to regain his feet and made the field of play by 1.5 metres.
This is Tunks taking it up now for Canterbury. They're playing with plenty of confidence now after a bit of a slow start. Admittedly, Cronulla had a lot of possession in the early part of the match, but they put the pressure on. But Canterbury have weathered the storm and come back with a couple of tries, and they have a handy lead of 10-2. That's Docking.
Not good kicking by Farah. The last two have gone straight down the throat of Jonathan Docking.
He plays about 1 metre inside Canterbury territory. Away from dummy half is Harris. Going to be well wrapped up though. Nissan coming in underneath to put him over. Dummy half up there is Docking. He'll send it back inside. Cutting over there will be Quinn. Quinn keeps it going and out eventually to Magor. Magor going to be wrapped up over there. Langmack coming into the tackle. And also Farah. So back inside this time, but once again it's Langmack into the tackle. So away from dummy half. It goes across then to Staines. Staines put down a couple of metres short of the halfway mark. Final tackle. Dummy half up there is Hatch. He swings it back. The boot coming in underneath from Wilson. But he'll do the same. Kick it straight back to Alchin, who juggled it a little bit, but then started to run and move it up, and eventually still going. Put down about 30 metres out from the Canterbury line.
Well, Cronulla a little bit disorganised there. They had Miller out of play. He normally does their tactical kicking, and when Hatch was called on to do it, he put it straight down the throat of the fullback.
So now we see dodging around over there Hagan, who's had a good match so far for Canterbury.
Well, he gives them another attacking strength, Hagan, because he's a very creative player. And there again we see Canterbury using Alchin out of the dummy half to gain ground and give plenty of room then for Farah to get the kick away.
And is he going to find touch? No, he's not. Jonathan Docking back there. He'll run up to the quarter line. Going to be wrapped up in the tackle though. Terry Lamb first man off, and eventually the tackle will be finished off over there by Folks. So now back over with Diamond.
Well, Canterbury like them coming at them like that, straight up and down, and they get in there and gang tackle. They can do some damage.
So with it that time is Staines. Staines put over. Midway between the quarter and halfway down in Cronulla territory. Feeding it back inside. Coming up there was Wilson.
And Miller needs to do more of that to be first receiver. He's played a lot of the game at dummy half, which obviously was a tactic early to get things moving from there. But he needs to do a lot more as first off the ruck.
Speechley with a kick through, eventually taken over there by O'Brien. He'll go to ground a couple of metres inside Cronulla territory. But it's Canterbury with a good lead at the moment. 10 points to 2 here. And one change in this first half so far.
See that silly by Langmack walking off the mark. And a penalty in possession going to Cronulla. These can be real turning points in the game. It was early in the tackle count. Have a look at him. This goes for a little Sunday afternoon stroll. It's cost his side possession, a penalty and territory.
So Brandon Lee is the one player to leave the field for Canterbury Bankstown and has been replaced by number 9 Steve Folks.
He's only in the head.
He's in the head bin, is he, TK?
Yes, Brandon Lee is in the head bin and is expected to come back on the field when his time is up in about 4 minutes.
Okay, now we'll see Cronulla. A chance for them to get on the attack. Taking the tap midway between the quarter and halfway down in Canterbury territory. not achieving much there. Eventually going to the ground with it will be Coleman. So away from dummy half, it'll be Porter sending it around. Cronulla just settling it up there. Porter coming up as dummy half again, as it's played back by Diamond. And going to ground with it is Staines, taking it outside of Quinn on that occasion. Now this is Hatch. Hatch bowled over about 25 metres out from the Canterbury line. On the play the ball, just over 10 minutes remaining in the first half. Taking it up there as Diamond. Dummy half Porter, final tackle. Wilson with a kick through. Thomas lost it back behind him, regathered, but doesn't get far very smartly. We've got Quinn coming up to put him to ground.
Dangerous tactic, that one of Cronulla's, as they kick across the face of the defensive line, but Thomas did well there to turn, grab it, and ensure possession for his side.
Well, the Canterbury side have controlled that danger man, Gavin Miller, pretty well in the opening 30 minutes of this match. He's obviously missing Barry Russell out there, Wally. I wouldn't be surprised if we see Jonathan Docking running off him as this game opens up a little bit. He's a very dangerous attacking player, and coming off the Miller passes could cause some problems.
Yes, I think they really are starting to find out exactly how much value Barry Russell is to the side. Just the little areas such as you just mentioned, and of course the backing up areas as we see Cronulla make a break. He does a lot of the little things that go unnoticed in a game, but take a man of his importance out of the side, and it certainly seems to show up, which is standing out very much at the moment.
So Cronulla trailing by 8 points. They're down by 10 points to 2. We've got about 9 minutes of play remaining in the first half. The shadows right across the ground now. In fact, starting to rain. Could be wet bottoms for Walter Lewis and Terry Kennedy very soon. I hope it doesn't come down like it did yesterday, Wally.
Yes, it'll be very nice, mate. We're not looking forward to it too much at the moment, so you'll know if you cross down to us and there's no response exactly where we'll be.
You got your crash helmet on ready though, Wal, haven't you?
Well, if it's heavy enough, it might even wet Wally's hair. So the pedal...
It want to be a very good shot.
The penalty going to Cronulla Sutherland. Alan Wilson coming up to try and peg back another 2 points. Talking about Barry Russell, there is he in shot at the moment on your screen. The Rothmans medal winner for 1988, and he became the 4th Cronulla player. The first one way back in 1968 was Terry Hughes and Ken Madison and Steve Rogers. So Barry Russell joined a very select group of Cronulla Sutherland players with that coveted Rothmans medal. So the ball placed about 32 metres out, about 15 metres to the left-hand upright. And Alan Wilson, a very vital kick. Son of a former international forward, Graham Wilson. He's played just about every position in the Cronulla side since he came into first grade last year. There's his kick. He's got distance and height. Is it straight? It is. And the Sharks come roaring back. They trail by only a converted try. It's 10-4, and the second goal from as many attempts for young Alan Wilson.
Quick look at the stats. The scrums are 3 apiece, penalties 5 all. Cronulla have missed more tackles than Canterbury. It's 9-4. And in the drop ball, nothing in at 4-3. Cronulla have dropped more there, and kicks in general play 10-8. 10 by Cronulla.
So down to a vital final 7 minutes of play before the half-time break. Both sides would be desperate to just trying to be the next scorer in this match. Cronulla to come right back on level terms, and for Canterbury Bankstown to skip away before the half-time break. Docking fielded it well, turned it back on the inside to big Craig Diamond. Actually, there's a few sons of very famous former footballers in this Cronulla side. We have that man in picture, Michael Porter, the son of Monty, the legendary Sir George Ford, and Craig Diamond, the son of one of the most damaging centre three-quarters and wingers that Australia ever saw in Peter Diamond.
Yes, and their sons are carrying on the tradition of the name very well, and credit to Cronulla and to those guys to be minor premiers and fighting it out for the honour to get into the grand final today.
Well, they've got 8 local juniors in the side today, which is a great indictment on the club. They've really supported their junior players since their entry into the premiership way back in 1967. Yet to win a grand final. They've been runners-up on 2 occasions, back in 1973 and then that grand final replay in 1978. Canterbury Bankstown, on the other hand, though, if they can win their way through for Sunday week, it'll be their 12th appearance in the grand final. They've won 5. They won back-to-back premierships in 84, 85, and were defeated in 86. There's Brandon Lee. The eyes still look a little bit out of focus. But I suppose with that injury cloud over Peter Tunks, that they'll be very keen to get him back on the field in case they have to replace Tunks at a later stage. There's another loss of possession.
Brandon Lee won't be coming back on.
Well, I believe there's some quite interesting news down there, Terry, about Brandon Lee.
Fordo, we just received word from the Canterbury dressing room that Brandon Lee won't be coming back on the field. He's received 2 very heavy knocks in this game already, and Stephen Folkes will stay on the field as the rain continues to tumble down here now.
Has anyone told him that he's not going on? Because he looked as though he was keen to get moving.
There's the kick downfield and a good chase. Back goes O'Brien, but the ball beats him over the touchline. Splendid kick by Michael Speechley.
Well, from the base of the scrum, Cronulla took their chances, and Docking was really making some ground here. O'Brien had it pretty well covered, though. Goes into touch about 8 metres out from the try line. Canterbury Bankstown being forced to play a fair bit of the game inside their own territory, something they don't enjoy.
Scrum win by Canterbury with the feed. That's Lamb wrapped up in the tackle by Speechley. Just a copybook tackler is Michael Speechley. Hatch doing his defensive work as well. Coming over the top was Dan Staines. So Canterbury pegged down inside their own quarter after that great kick by Michael Speechley. We're into the final 5 minutes before the break. The umbrellas are up on the far side. Light rain falling here at the Sydney Football Stadium. We had a very heavy shower about 2 hours before kickoff. But one thing about this ground, although it does come in for some criticism, it's got fabulous grading. And there's another great kick. It's turned the Cronulla defence around on another occasion, and the man responsible was Andrew Farah.
Ball landing well inside the field of play, but Farah ensuring with the low trajectory that he got a good run with the ball. Cronulla now with a chance loose head and feed, and only 3.5 minutes to go in the first half.
David, you mentioned good drainage here. I suppose the play's going to have something going for it. There's not much else.
It hasn't got too many reps this year. He has McGaw floating past. That ball went forward, and the referee right on the spot. Graham Annesley.
McGaw there very disappointed, and Cronulla have had a few half chances, and that was another one of them to get outside the defence, and McGaw really a very ill-directed pass. All he had to do was hook it back a bit. He had 2 players outside.
Now Canterbury come up. Can they punish Cronulla for that mistake? Wally, with such a classy attacking player like Eddinghausen outside McGaw, I couldn't see what the cutout pass was all about.
No, it would have been a lot better, I think, if he just fed him the ball straight away. But that's been the surprising part to me in this game so far. Although it is a little bit wet down here, it certainly isn't that wet that you wouldn't use a back line. And the back line is exactly where Cronulla's strength lies.
There's Langmack. Oh, great play by Paul Langmack. Inside the quarter, that pass looked forward. Play on, says the referee.
Got him on the left.
Now Thomas moving it wide. The pass is a bad one, picked up by Tunks. Tunks shrugged away from 2 tackles. Got the pass out the back door for Langmack. He's got the pass away again. Good play by Canterbury. But now the attacking movement dies down. Speechley goes low. Oh, the pass back in field. Good support play by the Bulldogs. Final tackle. Will they go the blind? They do through Thomas. The defence is there. Dunn got the pass away. It's still alive. The ball for Canterbury. Tremendous defence. Here's a chance for the Bulldogs. Nissan.
Give it to
Nissan's
Thorne.
going, and he wouldn't get the pass to Thorne. And the attacking move breaks down. Gee, that could have been the ball game. Well, if that could have gone over so close to half-time.
Billy, I can't believe that he didn't throw the pass there. He had young Robin Thorne completely unmarked on the wing, and he only had to run about 7 or 8 metres to score. Maybe he didn't see him, the crowd noise or something, but there was definitely some excuse for not passing him the ball.
So into the final 2 minutes, and Cronulla breathed a sigh of relief. They were virtually hung, drawn and quartered there, but the Bulldogs couldn't come up with the 4 points. It'd be fair to say, Dave, they did everything but score the try.
Well, Nissan has played most of his football either at fullback or on the wing, and he played just like a winger there. He didn't look for one moment out to Robin Thorne. Let's face it, if you're playing in the centres, the first thing you do is look right to see where your winger was. Thorne was in perfect position. He would have put it down untouched.
So David Hatch working it outside Cronulla's quarter line. 2 tries in the match so far, both going to the Bulldogs through O'Brien and Joe Thomas. Lamb has kicked 1 from 2. Wilson has kicked 2 from 2 for Cronulla's only points. Final tackle now for the Sharks inside their own half. It goes back for Gavin Miller. He keeps the ball low. kept in the field of play by Robin Thorne, but it finally beats him into touch. Good decision by the touch judge on this side.
Good kick too from Miller. He made it awkward for Thorne, who tried to trap it with his foot. All it did was deflect down the touchline. Perfect camera angle, this one. Let's have a look at it. Well, did it hit the touchline? It was suspended. The touch judge, not with the advantage of a slow motion replay, raised the flag.
More importantly, it's a scrum feed to Cronulla Sutherland because the ball came off Thorne, and now the backline decides to move. Docking, oh, what a hit.
20 seconds.
Final 20 seconds to the break. What will Cronulla's tactics be? They put the ball in the air and they've turned over possession. It's Thomas that flies high, so it'll be the Bulldogs that'll just use the clock up, and that's been very effectively done by Joe Thomas now, although he did take a very heavy knock. What tremendous defence from Steve O'Brien on that far wing there to clean Docking up.
He read it nicely. He had to come in there. There was an overlap all the way and he saved a try.
So in this major semi-final, with the prize for the winner, a spot in the grand final on September 11, it's Canterbury Bankstown who go to the half-time break with a 6-point advantage. They lead by 10 points to 4.
Ready for the restart of play coming into the second half of this match. Canterbury Bankstown have a lead of 10 points to 4. And it's Cronulla ready to restart play as the sun starts to come around. It's been very strange weather in Sydney here the last couple of days.
It's like Melbourne weather, isn't it?
Thank goodness we're not in Melbourne. However, here's the kickoff coming up right now. A big long one carrying back there towards Folkes. He'll turn it around. Coming up is O'Brien. O'Brien put to the ground just short of the quarter line. He got up to play it away from dummy half Hagan, who gains about 4 or 5 metres before he's wrestled to the ground. This is Thomas. Thomas swinging it away. Coming up Folkes.
Experience last week, Bill, that Canterbury Bankstown had against Canberra when they had that good lead and allowed Canberra back into the match with early points, would have been emphasised, I'm sure, by Phil Gould at half-time.
So there's the kick through. And eventually Cronulla getting up to about 25 metres out from their own line. It's Jonathan Docking, the man who played the ball after that run. Playing it this time is Porter. Across to Staines. Staines working his way up towards the halfway mark. On the play the ball, working across field. Straight up the centre there is Diamond. Diamond put over. Just short of the halfway mark now. So working away this time, that's Miller.
Gillespie's put a player down in back play. There he is, one of the Cronulla players who was in support of Miller for some time. Didn't stay in support once Gillespie got a hold of him.
So now it's Cronulla coming up to knock over the winger up there in O'Brien.
Back on his feet now is Ronnie Quinn, who was had been taken out by Gillespie.
Talking about Gillespie, Wally, he didn't look too hot coming off at half-time. Okay, so here's Farrow with the kick through now. He's not going to find touch. Docking is back there for Cronulla. He'll run it out. Put to the ground up there by Steve O'Brien. While Cronulla are working their way away from their own line, let's take it down once again to Terry Kennedy.
Thanks very much, Billy. And winning on the sideline, Barry Russell. Barry, 10 points to 4 at half-time. What did Alan Fitzgibbon have to say?
Well, he just wants us to control the ball more. You know, our control the ball. We're losing on the first tackle, pushing the passes and that sort of thing. So if we can start, to control it, I think we can win.
More use of the back line?
Well, we just want to get our discipline right before we sort of start throwing the ball around and that. And possibly later on you'll see Sparkles and ET cut loose.
Obviously, 10 points to 4. You still think the boys can do it?
Oh, well, look, we've been in worse situations than this, and we've got a lot of character in this side, and they'll chip away and they'll come back. Don't worry about that.
Barry, will you be right for the grand final?
Yeah, I'll make sure I am, for sure.
Thanks very much, Barry Russell, Rothman's medal winner.
So now we see Canterbury Bankstown in possession. Ball coming out this time to Nissen. Nissen going to be wrapped up midway between the quarter and halfway, down inside Cronulla territory. Dummy half is Thomas. He'll swing his pass outside, then to Hagan, to Lamb, away to Farah. Farah's going to be taken ball and all over there. Harris coming up to wrestle him to the ground. He'll get up to play it back inside.
Alan Fitzgibbon, the Cronulla coach, looking on intently.
That's Langmack with it. Langmack about 25 metres out of the final tackle. Dummy half Thomas. Farah shapes to kick. Now he does. Kicks it cross field. It'll carry back into the in-goal area. Going back there is Coleman. Coleman trying to get out, but he's going to be tackled nicely. O'Brien coming up to take care of him, and Cronulla under a lot of pressure there.
Yeah, well, they had themselves to blame because they put no pressure initially on Andrew Farah, who took the ball on the right-hand side of the ruck and then just picked out where he wanted to put the ball. It came across here to Coleman, and O'Brien came through very quickly to ensure that he was trapped inside the in-goal.
They haven't missed David Gillespie either from that earlier infringement. The touch judge is finally in, but gee, it's a long time coming in.
Yeah, it was quite some time ago now.
Well, it's been the first stoppage in play, so touch judges are required to at least hold off unless it's a passage of play that really needs a major decision by the referee. So it'll just be a caution on the run here now to Gillespie. Rest assured it'll go on the tab, and if he infringes again, he could well suffer. There's Phil Gould, the Canterbury Bankstown coach. He'd be well satisfied with the start in the early minutes of the second half.
So the drop out from underneath the goal mouth. Taken back there by Nissen, who's minus his headgear now. Dummy half is Thomas. Thomas swings it away. This is Alchin. Alchin up to just about on the quarter line. Thomas again. Sending it away to Tunks. Tunks straight up the centre. Brought to the ground in the tackle of Wilson. Thomas. Langmack. Knocked over 20 metres out now from the Cronulla line. They settle it up. This is Thomas. Thomas getting it back to Hagan outside to Lamb. Hagan doubles around. This is Farah. Farah trying to run around the outside to get away from the tackle. Over there, coming up there were Eddinghausen. So Lamb with a kick through again. Got away from Docking, back in the in-goal area. Try coming up.
No try. He hasn't grounded it. Well, he was certainly first to the ball, Bill, but referee Graham Annesley on the spot to say he didn't ground the ball. Docking couldn't get to it. Cronulla once again very slow to put pressure on. Let's see if there's any downward. No, he just went over the top of the ball, I'd say. And good refereeing from Annesley to decide that he didn't get the ball down. Cronulla off the hook.
So it'll be a drop out from underneath the goal mouth.
See, Cronulla aren't putting anywhere near enough pressure on the kickers. Canterbury will play this game for another 30 minutes if they're allowed, and that is to force Cronulla to drop kick out. They just like to put them on the roundabout. And O'Brien, a good bust.
Send it back inside. Coming up there is Gillespie. Gillespie gets his pass away to Thomas. Thomas in for try number 2 for him. And Canterbury have a lead of 14-4.
Well, concerted pressure. The Bulldogs play it that way. They'll force Size to drop kick out to them. What a beautiful break by Steve O'Brien. This is the third time that Cronulla have had to drop kick out. Have a look at O'Brien. Ball out in 2 hands. Straight past David Hatch. And then Diamond couldn't get to him either. Into open spaces. Good work for O'Brien to look back on the inside. Gillespie, his strength allowed him to stand in the tackle, and then just packs up at the last minute as Sargent to go, Thomas, I should say, to go across for Canterbury. A fine try.
Yes, it certainly was a fine try. Set up, of course, by a great fan and sidestep there, but I find it very, very unusual why the try has even reached this far. I was under the impression that it should have been a tap to the Cronulla side from the previous kick that Lamb put through. If Canterbury were first to the ball, then it should have been a try. If they knocked it on or knocked it over the line, then it should have been a tap kick to Cronulla. So I'm certain that the papers are going to have fun with this one in the morning.
Clash of heads there too between Quinn and also Gavin Miller. He received attention, but he's back to his feet. But David Gillespie had the try disallowed, and then had the hand in that one by Joey Thomas, and hasn't he enjoyed the semi-final?
What he may have ruled there is that if Canterbury Bankstown have gone over the top of the ball and missed it altogether, it's been Cronulla have actually grounded it. So an interesting decision, and a change has been made for Cronulla.
TK, what's the story there, mate?
Ron Quinn has come off after that very, very heavy head clash, and of course John O'Connor, number 17, has taken his place, so another should cause a reshuffle of the halves.
So no conversion there. The score remaining, Canterbury leading by 14 points to 4. Nice handy lead, the 10-point break.
It'll be very hard to toss from here. They're a side that just keeps applying pressure. They give very little away. Cronulla will really need to lift their game and get a little bit more variety in it. They really don't seem to have had a lot of possession apart from the first 10 minutes or so where they look pretty good. They're going to need to get back and start throwing the ball around.
So the restart of play again. And just repeating that Ron Quinn, the halfback for Cronulla, off, and on is number 17, John O'Connor. So a big hefty tackle coming in from Craig Diamond. So it's Canterbury now starting to, I feel at this stage, David, they'll start to throw that around.
Well, Bill, I'm not so sure. They'll play it pretty tight inside their own territory for sure. They're a side that just keep the pressure on, and sure, once they get down in a good attacking position, they'll move it around. But they just play a real attrition brand where they just keep wearing the opposition down, especially inside their own territory.
The attrition brand.
Attrition brand, yes. As in really.
What does it mean, Dave?
Well, it just means wearing them down.
Well,
you hear about the war of attrition. It's just one of wearing down. Hang on, I'll get my dictionary.
Had Wally floundering from down the touchline, I think.
Oh, my God. So here, breaking away this time is Eddinghausen, looking back inside, and he's tackled into touch. Midway between, no, he's not. He's Canterbury ball, got it back inside. So now it's Olchin. He gets up to 10 metres short of that halfway mark. So Canterbury in possession. First time we've seen any real attack in the second half from Cronulla.
It does show too that it's their opportunities out wide. Eddinghausen it was who made the half break, and he's the man they're going to look to. He scored 17 tries this season, and if they're going to get back into the match, he's the man who's got to get plenty of ball.
Dunn going to ground with it a couple of metres inside Cronulla territory as the final tackle. Thomas swinging it away to Farah. Farah kicking through, getting it back behind the winger Harris, but he'll regather and bring it up to about 15 metres out from the Cronulla Sutherland line.
And Canterbury Bankstown so far have scored 3 tries to 0 to hold on that 14-4 lead. And we've had about 10 minutes of play gone in the second half. And Docking running away from the dummy half position. Gets to the centre of the quarter line. They move it towards the far side through their captain Hatch and then to Speechley, and that's O'Connor. O'Connor got the pass away. Good play. There goes Eddinghausen up over halfway. Support of Harris on the outside. Got the pass to Harris, and Harris races away into touch. Great defence by Canterbury Bankstown.
Jason Alshin, he had all the work to do. He had Eddinghausen coming at him. Watch Alshin always wanting to go wide, waiting for the pass, never to be committed, and then it streaks across to pick up David Harris. What a cover defending tackle, a try saver. Beautiful work from Alshin. Eddinghausen thought he'd done the job, but David Harris, boy, was he exposed for lack of pace.
As good as you'd see that one.
Well, Wally Lewis, you won't see many better bits of defence of that, because he was committed and then he came back again.
Yeah, there are some that might say Eddinghausen passed too early in the piece, but it was great work from the fullback there. He did everything that could be possibly asked of him. He marked Eddinghausen as long as he could, then got across. And I don't suppose there would have been too many people that would have been prepared to bet that Cronulla wouldn't have scored then. I'm sure that he's going to have a lot of people at Canterbury League Club buying him a couple of pots tonight.
Well, Lam and O'Connor, a bit of a disagreement there, but it will be a Cronulla feed after the knock-on by Terry Lamb, and the Sharks are back on attack. Long pass, Eddinghausen. Undisciplined pass from Eddinghausen, but that's Coleman that picks the ball up and comes inside the quarter. It's desperation stuff now for the Sharks. They must get on the board with a try. But Eddinghausen well and truly thumped to the ground by Gillespie. In fact, it was by Paul Dunn. Now it's Porter running away from dummy half. Gavin Miller in number 10 runs away, switches the point of attack. The Canterbury defence has been first class in the first 50 minutes of this match. Porter through the dummy, nowhere to go there. They're 5 metres out. It's Wilson. Wilson held up, pass, but it goes straight to Canterbury Bankstown.
Was the 6th tackle upcoming. Wilson took the odds to it to try and make the try line. When he realised he couldn't get there, he just popped the ball out the back, knowing that if it was one of his own players, well and good. So Cronulla's bad luck, it wasn't. Langmack was there on the spot to recover.
So it's Canterbury Bankstown working it outside their quarter line. They've done that effectively. It's Joe Thomas that will go into dummy half. He gets his captain Tunks, loses his footing in that soft bit of turf here at the Sydney Football Stadium. Back it goes for Farah, and the long kick downfield. Back goes Docking. Docking will try and counter-attack, has numbers on the outside, takes the tackle himself. It was the tackle of Paul Dunn. Harris is the dummy half. Out for Mark McGaw. Porter. Just appears a little bit slow out of that dummy half role, Michael Porter. I suppose we've been spoiled over the last couple of weeks, though, with the display of Benny Elias.
Yeah, he's been sensational, Elias. Porter, of course, a converted hooker. And whilst he does his job, it's noticeable, too, that at times, as a penalty here goes to Cronulla, Folks not getting off the tackle player. It was noticeable early in that there's Folks not making any attempt at all to get off Speechley. The penalty had to come. He even had Langmack there trying to help Folks off, realising the delay. There's the worth of Porter in his strength, but it was noticeable, Fordo, early that Gavin Miller was the man who was in a dummy half when a lot of things were happening for Cronulla, and maybe that's what they need again. They certainly need Miller to spark things around the ruck.
Well, I thought, Wally, that Miller may have been used as that first man off the ruck a bit more than he has been in this match so far, because he is the spark that ignites this Cronulla attack.
Well, that's for sure, David. He certainly is the man that Cronulla need at the moment, Gavin Miller, because he's been their playmaker all year, and Cronulla have become very used to having him in that role and helping them out of tight situations.
Here he is now holding the pass up, and that's Speechley. Speechley can't get the hands free, but takes play over the halfway line. It's the final tackle for the Sharks. It's Hatch and dummy half. That's Miller. He'll the pass up again. The kick through by Eddinghausen. Picked up by Hagan. Takes on Coleman, but Coleman comes at him well, with the assistance of Hatch and also Dan Staines. Alchin and dummy half, and this is where they just chip away at the Cronulla defence, running out of dummy half.
Very successful pattern, because that gets them going forward, gets the defence back, although this will slow things up a bit with Alchin being injured. They like to do that and then get the big men rolling up the middle, and then that gives them plenty of room to get Farah with a kick away. Farah already just lurking in behind the ruck there, waiting for his opportunity, and something that Cronulla have not done well today, and that is harass the kicker.
There's Tunks. Well, final tackle, and now we're seeing finally the two wingers from Cronulla dropping back in defence. And Farah, sensing that, tries to separate Coleman and Docking. It goes straight to Coleman. But that one line of Canterbury defence is up again in numbers. Gillespie came over the top. That's O'Connor for Docking. Jinking run by the Cronulla Sutherland fullback. He's midway between the half and the 22 at his end of the ground, and a penalty that will take play over halfway. Well, a few moments ago they took the quick tap and went on with it.
Well, Peter Tunks this time is the offender, holding down Porter, I think it was, trying to get to his feet, or was it Docking? And that's the second penalty in a very short period of time to Cronulla for the same offence, and it will allow them to once again go on the attack.
Well, a bit of indecision out there by Wilson as to which touchline to drive the ball towards. This time he finds it over the western touchline. Another replacement warming up on the Cronulla bench. It appears that Sean Watson is the man that's warming up. And if Watson comes on, Terry, any idea at this stage who it might be for?
Yes, Glenn Coleman will be coming off the other winger. Glenn Coleman will be off, and Sean Watson will be going on very shortly.
Well, in fact, he's now taken his place on the field. Well, there must have been injury to Coleman, because if I was going to replace anyone after the lack of pace by Harris, Dave, I think I may have gone for that left wing.
Yes, certainly was exposed for that lack of pace. I think you're right, I'd say something's wrong there with Coleman.
There's Miller. Gee, he's been closely marked today. Homework's been done on this fellow, who was a free tip for who may be the Dally M Gold Statue Award winner on Tuesday night. And just a reminder that, as Billy mentioned, that's on Tuesday night live at 9:30. But we'll take a break here at the football stadium and be back in just a moment. Back at the football stadium in Sydney, it's major semi-final day, and 14-4. It's Canterbury in the lead. A lead, if they maintain, will give them an automatic entry into the 1988 Winfield Cup Grand Final on September the 11th. What a day that should be on TVO. Coverage live from all grades of the football from 10 o'clock right through till 6 o'clock. Good defence there by Cronulla. It appears that Malcolm Wheeler is also warming up on the Cronulla touchline, so Alan Fitzgibbon has been forced to freely make replacements in the second half, and the chance that they may start to spark the attack. And it appears that Craig Diamond is the player coming off. A crowd of over 31,000 here today. So that's a ground record, Billy, and it augurs well for what the crowd should be on grand final day.
Well, it is a sellout at this stage, and it's probably the earliest sellout for a grand final for quite a few years, David.
That's significant because the Sydney Sports Stadium has been much criticised this season. They didn't get good crowds for State of Origin, but they're going to get one for the grand final. Should be a great game.
Well, I think the season deserves to have a full house. It's been a fabulous Winfield Cup in '88. The loser of the side to play Balmain here next Sunday. There goes Gillespie coming away from the dummy half position. Will they be working towards the field goal? Attempt by Terry Lamb.
I think knowing Canterbury, they'll just like to keep the pressure on now. They've got a nice buffer there of 10 points, and they've also got territorial advantage. They'll like just to keep that and keep Cronulla on the roundabout.
They're moving it wide. Good defence by Harris out wide for Cronulla Sutherland. Final tackle now for the Sharks. We'll see the little kick coming either along the ground or just over the top from Terry Lamb. There it is, the chip over the top. Oh, it's well placed to Eddinghausen. Gets out into the field of play. So Cronulla Sutherland camped down inside their own quarter. They trail by 14 points to 4 at Bilbao, right at the halfway mark of the second half. It's going to take a big effort for the Sharks to come back.
Yes, I think they needed to get a try in the early part of this second half, which they failed to do. They went very close, of course, but they're really pushing it uphill from here on in. At 14-4, there's no way in the world Canterbury aren't going to lock them right out.
Another mistake by Cronulla will allow Canterbury to go straight on the attack again.
So it's Lamb across to Hagen. Hagen propping, going to be wrapped up in the tackle though. About to play it. Away from dummy half, Elchin. Eventually put to the ground in the tackle of Porter. Thomas to dummy half. Canterbury's lead is 14 points to 4. Folks trying to find a way through there. So away from dummy half. Back it goes to Hagen. He turns it back inside for Dunn. Dunn about to play it. Thomas from dummy half to Tunks. Oh, Tunks with a little kick through. Follows over, dives on, and he's in.
Peter Tunks, he's developed that skill in the last couple of seasons. A little grubber kick through. It deflected off a couple of Cronulla players, and Tunks was there. And you got to hand it to this guy. He's been under a cloud for the last 6 weeks or so with trouble through injury, and persistence prevails. Big Peter Tunks, the captain of Canterbury, comes up with a match-winning try.
Yes, I'm sure Tunks will be talking about this one, David, for quite some time to come. He has always enjoyed a little bit of a kicking role and fancied himself as a bit of a kicker, and of course putting one along the floor and scoring in such an important situation as this. It was a little bit unfortunate, of course. It could have gone either way there with the Cronulla guy just managing to deflect the ball backwards, but still it was a very costly error to Cronulla, dropping the ball 2 or 3 metres out from their own try line.
Well, a very fortunate one for Canterbury Bankstown. It's just about sealed up their spot in the grand final in a couple of weeks from now. And of course for Cronulla,
Mark Bugden is on for Canterbury. They're billed for Joey Thomas.
So Bugden for Thomas in the Canterbury lineup.
There was Thomas now sitting on the bench, and he can be well satisfied with his 2-try effort today.
So of course Cronulla, it's regroup and take on Balmain next week, which is not a very nice task the way they're going at the moment. Here's the kick by Terry Lamb. No doubt,
One up,
no doubt about it. Both up now, and it's 20 points to 4. Canterbury Bankstown lead. So we'll come back to the halfway mark and take it from there. Well, Wally, Cronulla next week they'll be up against Balmain. What are the chances?
Well, it seems to be the trend at the moment that everybody comes up against Balmain goes out the back door that day, and they haven't gone all that well today. Cronulla, I'm sure that everybody's going to say that Canterbury played very well, but to be quite honest, I don't think Cronulla have played to the best of their abilities, and coming up against Balmain, they're certainly going to have to be at their very best on the day. Otherwise, it's goodbye 1988 for them.
That's Gillespie with a good run, gets his pass outside. Bugden going to be knocked over 5 metres short of the halfway mark. He'll play it. Elchin's up his dummy half. Elchin swings it out wide. Langmack getting it across to Lamb. Lamb's into the clear. He's got dogging to beat. Going to be wrapped up by the fullback and put down 25 metres out from the Cronulla line. But it's all Canterbury now. They're running it around. Coming out to Tunks. They've lost it. It's going to be dived on by Dunn. for the referee to play the knock-on.
Boy, don't they look dangerous when they start really hitting it up midfield. Beautiful break by Terry Lamb. And Canterbury just couldn't go on with it. They decided to spread it rather than probe again up the middle of the ruck. And Cronulla, more through good luck than anything, got away with a drop ball.
This is Docking with it. Docking going to be wrapped up. He's only about 24 metres out from his own line now, away from dummy half Magore. Magore sending it back over there to Wheeler. Wheeler midway between the quarter and halfway, still in Cronulla territory. Hatch turned it back inside. That's Wheeler again. Dummy half waiting there is Porter.
Well, Billy, looking at the Cronulla statistics throughout the year, there hasn't been one game in the 88 Premiership where they haven't scored a try. So it's a great credit to this Canterbury defence. They've kept them tryless so far, and we've only got 15 minutes of play remaining.
Yeah, that's good stuff. This is Robin Thorne back there. Well, it's been a solid hit out for this Canterbury Bankstown side today. Thorne losing one shoe as he comes up over the quarter line, eventually put to the ground. A good hit out for Canterbury Bankstown and an ideal lead up to the grand final.
Excellent lead up, and of course they've got now the luxury of the 2-week break. They'll sit it out while the other two take it on. And there's Robin Thorne's boot, as we saw on the ground there. He's now just endeavouring to get it back on. Thorne would probably suggest that had he not lost it, he could have gone all the way.
That's Bugden up there as dummy half. Will swing the pass back. Hagan getting it outside to Dunn. Dunn back inside to Hagan again. Hagan probing up the centre and finds it. He's up over the halfway mark, looking for support. Which way will he go? Sent it outside to Elchin. Elchin got it away to Lamb. And this is a great Canterbury Bankstown try. He's in beside the post.
Magic stuff from Canterbury. They're applying all the pressure now. Cronulla realise that they've got to be back here next week. They've probably dropped off a little bit. And to the credit of the Canterbury Bulldogs, they're going to take every advantage of it. Michael Hagan, who was a surprise selection last week, backs up nicely on the inside of Big Dunn. There he is, the dummy. Out of some pretty concerted traffic comes Hagan. Just enough pace to get it to Alshin. And then quickly Harris takes on Alshin. Bang brings him down. The pass popped up beautifully to the backup man, Terry Lamb. And he's there to finish it off for Canterbury.
Two great passes involved in that try there, David. I'm sure that's... the Canterbury supporters at the moment are very heartened by their display. It came from a missed tackle, of course, right back in deep inside their own territory, but gee, aren't they a hungry side? Once they get just that sniff of a try on board, there's 2 or 3 blokes backing up. Of course, after we saw Terry Lamb score the try, if you had a look back inside, there was still 2 or 3 Canterbury blokes waiting for the ball, should Terry Lamb not have been there.
So he's in for the try, and Canterbury Bankstown have a lead of 24 points to 4. And his tally today is 2 from 4. Terry Lamb, not a difficult one, this shot. Quite a few people starting to leave the ground. Obviously, Cronulla supporters, I'd imagine.
It's a long drive back.
It's a very long way.
Well, they haven't lost a game, Cronulla, in something like 15 matches to run into the semis. They had a couple of draws in that time, but they faltered, well, at the second last hurdle. They do get a second chance, of course, next week.
Great record there of Terry Lamb's. 64 tries and 111 appearances flashed up on the scoreboard.
Lining up for the shot at goal. There she goes, and it is there, and that gives us a scoreline of 26 points to 4. Just 13 minutes remaining in the match.
I suppose the big bonus, Bill, Tony Curry now gets that couple of weeks break to get fit for the grand final, and what a bonus that'll be for the Bulldogs with him coming back in.
Yes, and it'll be a great finale for him to leave the Canterbury Bankstown side. Of course, he's playing with the Broncos next year. So it's been quite a memorable year for him now.
A great year for Curry. He represented Australia for the first time, and even though Canterbury have been very, very dominant today, the addition of Curry, the extra running player out wide, we thought earlier in the first half when Glenn Nissen, who's played in the centres today, had a really simple opportunity to set up Robin Thorne. He didn't. You can bet anything you like, Curry would have done exactly the right thing there, and he'll really add to their attacking ability and will make them red-hot favourites, I would think, for grand final day.
So now it's Canterbury Bankstown in possession. The kick through. Carrying back towards Harris. Eventually gathers. Runs across field but can't get through. He's going to be wrapped up and put to the ground in the tackle of Langmack. Away from dummy half is Docking. Farah just gets a hold of his jersey and pulls him down. So from the play the ball now, it's Cronulla just a couple of metres inside their own territory. Another reserve lining up there for the Canterbury Bankstown side, TK.
Team Greg Barwick, and it's not quite sure who he'll be replacing at the moment.
So Phil Gould obviously now giving some of his players a bit of a rest.
Andrew Farah.
And he's going to take Andrew Farah's place. Now penalty coming up to Cronulla.
Well, it was on the fifth tackle too, so it'll put Canterbury Bankstown under a little bit of extra pressure that they didn't need at this stage of the game. And you can see that replacement being made now. Greg Barwick is on, and Andrew Farah, who's had a great season this year, does their tactical kicking. He's also a power of strength out wide in their back line, and he's got a early shower in recognition of his performances this season and today.
So he's going back to fullback is Barwick. Elchin has gone to halfback, and Michael Hagan gone to the centres. When we're talking about players coming back for Canterbury, of course, don't forget Steve Mortimer.
Well, I think
will he get a run?
Well, I think he might have to warm the bench, I think, Bill, for a while, because he and new coach Phil Gould, or you must remember when Mortimer did come back mid-season, that Gould found it necessary to leave him on the bench for quite some time. You could hardly see him make changes on this side, who played so well in the last couple of weeks to get them to the grand final.
Even if he did make that change, it wouldn't be a bad one. That's the strength they've got at the moment. Final 10 minutes of this major semi-final, and it's been all Canterbury Bankstown. They led by 10 points to 4 at half-time. They currently lead by 26 points to 4, and they've raced in now 5 tries. So the camp just outside their own quarter. Gillespie. Oh, that's a knock-on the far side.
Had to feel a bit sorry there for Thorne. The shaft of sunlight as he raised his hands toward his eyes was coming right at him there, and he found it difficult to pick up the flight of the ball.
So it appears that Canterbury are on target for their 5th grand final appearance of the 80s. There's the pass back for Ettinghausen. Remembering they're also runners-up in 1979, so for Steve Folkes, his 6th grand final appearance, and that's not a bad reward for a man that had to start the game today on the reserves bench.
And even when Brandon Lee was injured and they brought Folkes on, they didn't want to take any more chances with Brandon Lee, even though he'd initially only gone to the head bin, and they felt very confident, of course, with a fellow like Folkes there, very close to making first-up selection. I think a guy who's got to take a lot of credit for, though, his debutant first-grade coach in Phil Gould. He's got them there.
Here's the break by Speechley. Floating pass. There's the try by Cronulla Sutherland, and Alan Wilson is the man that comes up with it. His 8th try of the season, but it's all too late for Cronulla Sutherland.
Exactly. Intensity off a little bit for Canterbury Bankstown. Cronulla moved the ball for a change. They haven't done it too often today. Speechley in a gaping hole out wide, and then he does well to select the right player. Ettinghausen was creamed by Robin Thorne, and out wide was Wilson. He goes across in the cover defending tackle of Greg Barwick.
Yes, it was a little bit unfortunate for Canterbury Bankstown there. Terry Lamb was coming in to try and tackle Speechley and managed to slip over, but of course it was a Gavin Miller pass that got Cronulla going, and it makes you wonder whether he should have been a little bit more involved in the game. But there is those on the sideline down here who don't believe that he has been involved enough. But I think that the big thing is that Canterbury's defence just hasn't allowed him to be involved in this game.
Well, I can rest assured that Balmain will use very similar tactics. They're a great defensive outfit, Balmain. They've showed that in the last 3 or 4 weeks of this premiership, where they've walked the tightrope. There's Paul Langmack on the touchline. He's got a well-earned rest. And it's Alan Wilson who has scored now all of Cronulla's points with a try and 2 from 2. Can he make it 3 from 3 and give Cronulla double figures in this major semi-final? No, it's waved away. So it's the Bulldogs still in the lead by 26 points to 8.
Just saying there, Fordo, that Phil Gould's got to take a lot of credit. He took over from Warren Ryan from last season. Ryan, of course, going to Balmain, and he's well and truly alive in his coaching responsibilities, with Balmain now playing Cronulla next week. But Phil Gould has got to take a lot of credit for picking up this side and really taking them straight to the grand final in his first year, something that Wayne Bennett did, of course, last year with the Canberra Raiders in his first year coaching in Sydney League.
We saw on the touchline number 28, Danny Lee, and there's Phil Gould. I think he'd be well and truly pleased with the performance of this Canterbury side.
And of course, with him, David, he now comes in as a very big chance for the Coach of the Year next week in our Dally M Award.
You're not wrong, he's done a great job. And he looks well pleased with himself. And down on the touchline is a man that also should be well pleased with himself. He's been in outstanding form in recent weeks. Is Paul Langmack, and he's with Terry Kennedy.
Paul, you've come off the field, you're not injured. Looking forward to that grand final in 2 weeks.
Oh, it's not over yet. It's 26-8. Anything can happen in rugby league. But hopefully we can hang in there and improve. A bit of discipline. You know, we just got to keep hanging in there.
Last week, early in that second half, Canterbury went to sleep against Canberra. There was no doubt about that this week.
Oh, it's looking like we're going to sleep now. So, oh, thank goodness. But no, Phil Gill driving the into us at half time, not to relax. And the so-called experts at the start of the year who predict us to not even make the semis, I just hope they just keep criticising us till the day after the grand final.
Paul Langmack, thanks for your time.
Very determined man is Paul Langmack. Never short of a word, and I just thought what he said, we haven't won it yet. There's only 5 minutes and 32 seconds remaining.
He'd make a good journalist. That's the best beat-up I've heard in a long time.
The eternal pessimist.
So they've done a fine job, Canterbury Bankstown. Back it goes for Barwick, and there's the kick downfield. Back goes Harris, the winger. He's taken in the tackle out there on the far side, but it's been a pretty disappointing performance by Cronulla Sutherland. It often happens after the spell, but I don't think you could really put it down to that. Canterbury haven't allowed them to play well, very similar to the way that Balmain wouldn't allow Manly to play well in that first semi-final.
Yeah, well, they're similar sides, Canterbury and Balmain, and what a grand final that would be if those two make it. Of course, the league will be hoping for that now after Cronulla have been, well, embarrassed, I think, today by a far more physical and determined outfit. Cronulla, as we said, we've seen very little of them this season, but they've just gone along in the back blocks. They've made, well, minor premiers. They've also made the major semi-final. They'll need to regroup now, and there's one fellow who'll need to be one of their trump cards next week, and that's Michael Speechley.
Well, another break made by Canterbury Bankstown. The ball's been put down. So it's Cronulla Sutherland coming up with it through Danny Lee, the replacement player. Coming away from dummy half is Jonathan Docking. The Canterbury side have scored 5 tries to 1. There's Alan Wilson that went over for the Cronulla's only try of the match just a few moments ago.
That was Tony Curry there with Paul Langmack, and as Billy said a couple of moments ago, he'll be looking forward to taking his spot in 2 weeks' time.
David Hatch, what a disappointing day it's been for him. Alan Wilson was the player in shot then. Back it goes, picked up this time by Steve O'Brien. Gee, he's grabbed the opportunity with both hands today too. A seasoned campaigner though, Dave. He knows what grand final football's all about.
He's one of the best finishers in the game, and we think when the score was 10-4, there's Steve Mortimer, his arm still strapped, and Phil Gould having a little bit of a word in the ear, saying, well, look, if we get these Sharks in a couple of weeks' time, this is what we'll need to do. But just getting back to O'Brien, when we think that it was 10-4 at half-time in favour of Canterbury, it was O'Brien who collected a drop kick out from under the goalpost, busted through the defence, support from Gillespie and Thomas to score, and it was at that stage then at 14-4 that Canterbury looked all over winners.
Well, Wally, a few weeks ago when that battle was on for the top 5, nobody knew who was actually going to make the top 5. Were you of the opinion that Canterbury could go all the way to the grand final from that position?
Well, I suppose I could say that, mate, but I was of the opinion that anybody was capable of winning the premiership at that time. And that's only changed today, I suppose. Canterbury certainly seem to be warm favourites for it now. Up until last week, though, I still thought it was a very open race, which the title was anybody's.
It's Wheeler. 12 metres short of the halfway line. 10-4 it was Canterbury at half-time. They now lead by 26 points to 8. Wilson taken in the tackle. He elects to tap and play on. It goes out through his captain Hatch, and then for O'Connor. O'Connor's pass to Eddinghausen. The other one looked as though it went forward, and the referee has ruled that way. He'll bring play back right to the halfway line.
David Harris hasn't had too much to do today. There's Eddinghausen just popping out the pass to Harris, and he makes a complete mess of it. He has not had a happy game.
Scrum will pack down right on the halfway line. A Canterbury player injured in back play. There goes Hagan. So we're into the final 2 minutes of play. And the obvious thing that has come out of it today is that the Bulldogs have advanced to the grand final for 1988, and the winner of next weekend's final between Cronulla Sutherland and Balmain will be their opponents on September 11. A full live coverage of all three grades on grand final day. We begin our coverage at 10 o'clock in the morning. We go right through to 6 o'clock at night. So a great coverage of rugby league on TVO on September 11.
And then, of course, we make our way to Seoul, Fordo, for the Olympics starting on September 17. So there's a lot of sporting action coming your way.
That's right, the Olympic Games coverage, September 17 through to October 3. There's knockback, says the referee, as Watson gets to his feet. Final minute.
Interesting enough too, Fordo, that Cronulla will be the only minor premiers who haven't gone directly into the grand final. Parramatta in the under-21s got straight through, as did Manly Warringah. So Cronulla are going to have to do it the hard way.
And I suppose their confidence would be knocked around a fair bit from today, because Canterbury Bankstown have just lowered the colours completely. Undefeated in 15 weeks before this major semi-final with Cronulla.
And when you look at it, Balmain, a very similar side to Canterbury, and they'll be licking their chops waiting for next Sunday.
Oh, there's a knock-on by McGaw. It hasn't been a very happy day for the two international centres, Mark McGaw and Andrew Eddinghausen. Well, it hasn't been a very good day for Cronulla all over.
They've been starved of possession to a large extent, those two, and Canterbury Bankstown's defence has got a lot to do with that.
You can't wipe the smile off the face of Canterbury coach Phil Gould. We just saw there on the sideline. It's a Cronulla ball as the countdown begins. Only 2 seconds remaining. Can Cronulla salvage some lost pride? Long floating pass over the top for Harris, and he ends the day as he began it. Not a happy day for David Harris, not a happy day for Cronulla Sutherland, but a day of joy for Canterbury Bankstown into their 6th grand final since 1979. And as I mentioned, they'll play now the winner of the Balmain Cronulla game, which we'll see on TVO next weekend. Final score at the stadium, 26 points to 8, a win to Canterbury Bankstown and into the grand final for 1988.